5 minutes, but we are live. We will just mute.
Did we see if it was going, or was there just that much of a delay?
Perfect.
I didn't. Maybe Kevin's on. Nobody's on.
Battery, big bank of battery.
Yeah, I got a notification.
I did too.
Notification.
Oh, that's us.
And that lady was
Right. We're off mute.
I know how to write it. Yeah, I'm sure you do. Press start, just making 5 copies.
All right, we'll call the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of September 17th to order. Roll call, Aaron.
Amy Johnson.
here.
Lee Dashlet.
Here.
Casey Boer.
Here.
Wayne Schmidt,
Here.
Midge Swedberg,
Here.
Scott Meverden,
Here.
John Ortlieb,
Here.
Kevin Schmidt.
Here.
I would be looking for a motion to approve or make changes to the agenda.
Point of order, number 3, please.
Oh, meeting in compliance, please.
Yes. Yes, this meeting is in compliance with the open meetings law.
Now I would be looking for that motion.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Kevin,
Second.
second by Midge. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. If everyone had a chance to look at the meeting minutes from August 20th. Any questions? Or a motion to approve?
So move. I'll second.
Moved by Wayne, second by Lee, I believe. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Did everyone have a chance to look at the bills? Any questions? Or a motion to approve?
So move.
Moved by Wayne,
Second.
second by Scott. Roll call, please.
Meverden,
Yes.
Kevin Schmidt,
Yes.
Dashlet,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Wayne Schmidt,
Yes.
Boer, Ortlieb, Swedberg.
Yes.
Do you have any conflicts of interest?
There are none at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any for public comment tonight? Okay. Walk up to the podium. Give us your name and address, please.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jake Boer, address 1208 Navarino Street. This has been a topic quite a bit, and I know it's going to continue to come up, and it's going to be for deliberation among everybody. But if I'm wrong on anything, anybody can correct me at any time. From my understanding, I guess we only have what it seems one bid for the new fire station. Just want to read something here. It's the Wisconsin bid law requires, which the Wisconsin law requires certain public entities to engage in competitive bidding when the estimated cost of a public works or project or public construction exceeds the specified dollar amount. The specified dollar amount that they talk about is $50,000. I'm wondering why, I guess, there's only one bid. If it should be strung across multiple, at least more than one.
Sure.
Take a reasonable, fair, I guess, so the best work would be supplied at a most reasonable price, to the public, to leave that open to debate. So I'm not against the fire station, I just think that the public, and everybody else with this should be allowed a fair judgment. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Anyone else for public comment? One last time. See one. Any old business? Under new business? The resolution 1204, 2024. The resolution rescinding resolution 1202, 2024. And authorizing the issuance and sale of 284,843 tax increment project revenue bond anticipation.
Yes. Okay, so what I'm going to say relates to 9A and 9B regarding both of these loans that we just took out with the Bank of Luxembourg. When we passed those resolutions, there was paperwork that the Bank of Luxembourg provided to us, and there was paperwork that we drafted. On the paperwork that the Bank of Luxembourg drafted, there is basically one or two lines in it that makes it sound like it is being paid for with general tax revenue and not tax revenue of the TID, which makes it look like GO debt. It is not GO debt. So this resolution for both of these items clears that up. We already have the money. The loans are executed. It is just cleaning up the language in the documents.
So, yeah, we already okay both of these, correct?
Yep, but now you need to re-okay these to replace the old paperwork.
Want to do a motion for both, then, is that okay?
You should do them separate.
Any questions?
I'll make the motion for the first one.
Motion by Kevin,
Second.
second by Casey. We're not moving any money, can it be now? All in favor?
I would do a
Roll.
resolution or a roll call.
Ortlieb,
Yes.
Kevin Schmidt,
Yes.
Swedberg,
Yes.
Boer,
Yes.
Dashlet,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Wayne Schmidt,
Yes.
Meverden.
Yes.
And resolution 1205, 2024, we can explain that as well. Motion by John, second by Amy. Roll call.
Dashlet,
Yes.
Ortlieb,
Yes.
Boer,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Wayne Schmidt,
Yes.
Swedberg,
Yes.
Meverden,
Yes.
Kevin Schmidt.
Yes.
Thank you. The cable, future status of the cable department.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this has gone through the cable committee, and it was the cable committee's unanimous decision because of the way the platform that we have now on YouTube and the zero expense to it, that we would look to move away from using our cable booth and the cable channel and just use YouTube to broadcast our meetings. With that being said, I'll turn it over to Casey, the chair of the cable committee, if he has anything to add to it. Or Midge, I think, on the cable committee as well. Don't have to add anything. I'd open it up for any discussion that anybody has.
Go ahead. I'm just asking if I can read a letter I received from a constituent at this time. Is that okay? Okay, I received a letter from Margaret Lynn from Joyce Botke. She's at 191 Margaret Lynn Avenue. And it's very short, so I'm going to read the whole thing. She says, "Hi Wayne, after watching the city council discussing next year's budget and the possibility of canceling charter/spectrum programming for the city, I would like to voice an opinion for the shut-in senior citizens and taxpayers of Elk. Canceling charter would take away their opportunity to watch their church services from home. Those church services are special to shut-in seniors at home and those in nursing homes and in assisted living. I became aware of this when I formally delivered Meals on Wheels, and the clients would be watching church when I arrived within the meal. Please keep those seniors in mind when working in the city budget. Thank you."
We received that same letter here.
Go on record, the city staff, actually the treasurer received the same exact letter.
Casey, I got a question. Is there a way you could just do the church services and nothing else?
If we're going to go away, I mean, the discussion was if we're going away from having any programming, we wouldn't have anything on the city channel. We wouldn't have a channel at all, so we wouldn't be able to do it cable-wise. There was conversation about potentially having opportunities for outreach, knowing that a lot of people have cell phones, even how smart TVs are available, perhaps an opportunity to reach out to some of the people that Joyce is talking about, to be able to educate on how they can access that information. And then it would be incumbent on the school or the churches themselves to put up their content on whatever, let's say YouTube or whatever channel that they would find appropriate.
Okay. What's the cost of this?
20,000 is that
Just over $20,000
a year?
Now, last council meeting was not aired from the cable. It was aired on YouTube.
That is correct.
So have you already made the change without?
No. So last council meeting was not aired on the cable channel because Al, there was a miscommunication. Al thought they were done, that they didn't have to be here to broadcast, so he didn't line anybody up to work.
So when would this go into effect?
That's committee. When
I
it
mean,
would
we
go
got the
into
money
effect
budgeted.
through December 31st.
Right. I mean, there's things we have to talk about, making sure that the video setup we have is adequate. But there are a few kind of loose ends we would have to attend to. But yeah, the goal. So
The cost savings is approximately 25,000. a year.
That's later and everything now. If you do.
Yep.
Is that, how much do we receive from Spectrum?
Number fluctuates every year.
Give me an average.
28,000. We would continue to receive that money and it would go in the general fund. What we discussed when we were talking about the capital improvement plan would be that the money that we save by doing this, we would then put a large portion of it into equipment reserves and replacement for the police department to help fund purchase of future squad cars.
So there's no stipulation on that money?
Nope.
We get?
It is actually a franchise fee, correct?
That is correct. It's a franchise fee.
Part of it is
A portion of it, there's two
two revenues.
revenue streams that come in. Part of it's a franchise fee.
If we choose to move away, like Casey, you were saying that we'd have to reach out to the school, church, look into different ways to reach, put their content on media. This being already budgeted to the end of the year, over the next couple of months, we think that that's, 3 months, is that gonna be enough time for them to find a different avenue?
I don't know. And I mean, and I don't want to sound coarse, but it's not really incumbent on us to have that. And I think that, I think notification, I mean, considering that the price point and the technological hurdle to get on something like YouTube is almost nothing. I would imagine there's savvy individuals, and some of them probably already have their own established ones. I would think that the 3.5 months or whatever it would be should be sufficient for them if they're interested in continuing their content in some way to be able to do it. I couldn't do it. We would communicate, I assume, to the people that we would communicate with them about what's going on. But as far as the time, I don't see why it wouldn't be. But I couldn't answer that before knowing their own situations.
The high school has already moved
Yes.
theirs. And
The school board
you
meeting.
will, YouTube,
YouTube?
they we published, well, you know about it, but I think we're gonna continue for the rest of the year. St. Paul's is already on YouTube. I don't know about St. Peter's.
Anything possible discussion at all? If they, no.
I know it's broadcast, I just don't know where.
But I probably don't realize it's.
I see it on Facebook, the church like this.
Is there any other discussion? We were looking for a motion to disband the cable.
And the cable channel,
And the cable
what we
channel.
were looking for.
Did you have the date of January 1st?
I think you'd use December 31st because it wouldn't be in the January 1st budget.
So that would be the motion we're looking for.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Casey,
I'll second.
seconded by Lee. Roll call on that one.
Johnson,
Yes.
Dashlet,
Yes.
Wayne Schmidt,
No.
Kevin Schmidt,
No.
Scott Meverden,
Yes.
Swedberg,
Yes.
Boer,
Yes.
Ortlieb.
No.
Yes has it 5-3.
The next one, building inspector office hours and fees. The inspector approached me on his office hours for the winter. He said last winter he would come in weeks at a time, no permits, so he'd sit at the desk. And he's asking for if he could open up the winter, not come every Tuesday. He has agreed to stop in on his way through. He didn't give a schedule, and see if Jamie or Aaron had anything for him. He would also call them, or they could call him at any point. But his goal is not to come here every Tuesday and sit at the desk waiting for the winter. That is half of it. I don't know if you understood the other half. The other one, as far as the fees go, it was about permits for roofing and siding. He never inspects a roof or siding. He gives a permit, costs you $30, and that's all that we do with it. Now, that doesn't mean that the city couldn't charge a city fee if we wanted to keep track of it, but in his opinion, it's a waste of his time. I use that term very loosely because he doesn't inspect it. And the state also doesn't mandate roofing or siding as a construction, it's a repair. So it is not mandated to permit that. So his suggestion was that we don't permit it, if the city wants to take it up. So is on our,
So we just won't charge you
You just
$30.
won't charge it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because.
or
half the
maybe we
people
do an administration fee, maybe it's not $30. I don't wanna preempt that with a cost.
Just a question I was asked, and I wasn't able to ask Brett, but so if somebody comes in now currently today and takes out a building permit for a new roof and new siding, and they put on $90,000 worth of siding and a new roof, and they do that now and we don't have a permit, how do we know for their assessment that they've just added $100,000 in value to their house?
As far as the siding, I can kind of agree with you, but on the roof, we don't deduct from their assessment as their roof wears out.
Yep.
So every time we,
Steel roof is gonna cost you 4 times over.
I agree with what Matt's saying, but that's the argument.
To put the question out there, that was
Yep.
something that was brought up.
I think personally, half the time, people aren't getting the permits anyway. I mean, you ride around town, you see a roof, I call City Hall, no, we got a permit. I just think eliminate it. I don't think it's fair that you have to do it.
So
How
is
about
it
siding?
roofing and siding?
Looking at siding.
How about
I'm just saying that.
Well, I'm in agreement with them with these roofing. I don't know about the siding, because usually when they're siding with windows and there's everything else there,
Construction. And at that point, if they're even putting a new window that's a different size,
size.
it should be a permit. And you follow that if you don't do the whole. So it can be whatever you want. I'm just laying it out.
Does he inspect if you put new windows in and say you change the framework, you can have bigger windows, smaller? Does he
If you
inspect
put in a
that?
pocket window, technically you don't need a permit.
Right.
But if you change the size of that window, you do.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with you.
But is he inspecting those now?
No, if he doesn't inspect it, then you don't know either. That's
Yeah.
kind of silly.
Yes, he does.
So it kind of puts them on the line. too. If
Yes.
You put on a roof with one.
He
window,
does.
Just, sorry, point of clarification. So if somebody changes their windows in their house, he doesn't go and do an inspection?
If there's no permit, if there's a permit, he does, absolutely.
Okay,
If they change the
That's
size,
why I
they're
just-
supposed to have a permit.
But if the,
And if they don't get the permit.
I
he
see what
doesn't
you're
go-
saying.
Yes.
Yeah, he doesn't go and inspect
He-
something if they don't
he
have a
doesn't
permit.
know.
I see what you're saying.
If it's a replacement window, he won't inspect because that's just the replacement.
Well, they don't need technically, some people come and get the permit,
but if
but they
it's,
don't know. And then I would
No.
assume he goes there, but I don't know that for a
okay,
fact.
so if
No.
it's the same size window, you're replacing one, you don't need a
You
permit
don't need by state.
by state.
State code.
I don't have that state code, but
We issue permits. for
we
that.
issue permits for that, and we have Brett goes and does inspections on them, whether it is a change of size or whether it is just straight this window replaced with the exact same one.
That's not what he told me this morning.
Okay.
Well,
It's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever,
I personally, I think we don't need one for a roof.
well,
It's kind of funny though, because this whole permitting thing in the city is a joke.
But
People are
in theory-
remodeling their basements and everything's going on and nobody's getting permits. So the assessor doesn't know that. So you've got homes here that have refurbished their basement that have probably added $35,000, $40,000, $50,000 to their assessment. And if they don't get a permit, it just sits there.
Mhm.
And it's not, unless he does an in-house reassessment, which he doesn't. He does it from the exterior. But I know there's homes here that I've been in simply, and all of a sudden you're just amazed what has taken place. And is there a permit? No.
Going through changing of the assessors now in the company. And they can post your door to go inside your house and you don't have to let them in there. He can put a tag on your door every day of the week and the homeowner can come outside and take the tag and throw it in the garbage. They don't have to allow you access for the assessor to come in your house. So I see their side of it is like, all I can do is assume what's in there. I not saying I disagree with what you're saying, Wayne.
But it's, he's part-time. He comes in on Tuesday mornings
For an hour.
for an hour. If
And then a lot of
somebody's-
people come right after he leaves to
And the ladies in the office take care of the permit,
Mhm.
you know, and he signs off and he pays, correct?
Correct.
And so,
Yeah, the permits that we don't write for the width and or siding, we get like $3 for that permit, and he gets the rest.
Well, it's $30 and he gets 90%.
Yeah.
And we get 10, so.
So it's not, it's just a,
so not
not
to,
like a financial change.
not to belabor this, but you had two questions from him. One was, not to have hours on Tuesday during the winter.
During the winter, and he did not specify what month or what month. He just asked during the winter. I forgot to specify that.
What, ladies, what's your take?
No, November through April, I think is what he's looking for, that he would start back here in May.
Is that a problem?
No.
All right, you want a motion?
Should we have, one question, should we have him on call? So that if we do have somebody that comes in, and we can call them and have them come in, even if it's not a Tuesday, we can have them come in on Thursday or Friday, whatever day is going by, and do it.
He does that. If somebody calls me on a Wednesday and says, "Hey, I want to put up a garage. I need to meet with the building inspector. When can I see him?" We give him Brett's email. We give him Brett's phone, and I very rarely, and I can't remember the last time, had somebody call back and say he didn't get back to me, or I don't know, you know. So Brett is reaching back out to them. He's emailing them, whatever it may be.
People are sending him their stuff electronically. He's responding to it. You know, a lot of times he'll come in here and drop off stuff and say this, and this person will be coming in to pick up their permits. And we
Yeah.
have his business
Yep,
cards
we
at
have
the
a
front
handful
counter
of
as
cards.
well.
I haven't had an
People
issue.
Wednesday, Thursday, you know, there's a lot of people that don't know he's here for that 1 hour in the morning. There's a lot of people that even when he is here, they're at work or doing other things that I would just make a recommendation that we deal with the hour things and move that to council. And we talk Thursday about the fee schedule on how we would move to adjusting the fee schedule for that portion as far as the roofs and the siding. If you want to make that motion, that's how it should be addressed anyways,
Well, I'll
through
make
our
a
fee
motion
schedule.
that we address the hours from November to April without having the building inspector to go over to council.
Motion by Lee for the time.
November to April, like the no parking.
Pretty much would follow the no parking.
I'll second that.
Second by Mid. All in favor?
Right?
Opposed? The second part of that, you need a motion to move it? Or should
No,
we
it's-
I think I would just make just move it to the fee schedule and we carry on that conversation as part of fee schedule, that we would make that change effective with the new fee schedule January 1st.
Everybody's all right with that? Move on. The refinance of the 2019 sewer capital project loan.
All right, I will start with it. Jeff will jump in.
Wait, what about this option?
That's this.
You're on E. That's what we're just starting a conversation here.
Okay, the city borrowed a lot of money for a lot of different purposes in 2019, and they are all now due for refinance because they were 5-year loans. So we have a loan with an outstanding balance of just over 1.11 million at the Bank of Luxembourg October 21st. So we need to take that out to refinance that for a longer term. In order to do that, we were looking out sewer revenue debt. The further we got into the process, and Jeff will elaborate a little bit more, it makes much more sense to combine that debt issue with the $4 million that was approved at our last meeting and make it all a GO debt. The $4 million would be paid property tax levy like we discussed before, even though the 1.17 million that we're looking at here, even though it would be GO debt, it would not be paid back with tax salaries. You would not levy for it. It would be paid with sewer system revenues, just like it's being paid for now. So I will let Jeff explain the reasoning behind his recommendation to go and make it a combined loan as GO debt.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Jamie's absolutely correct. Last week when we met, you helped make up my mind in terms of what credit we were gonna offer for this particular instrument. In order to issue revenue debt, we would have to get permission from USDA and from the Clean Water Fund of the state in order to issue these revenue bonds or any revenue bonds of the city going forward. We would have to get permission from both those entities to allow us to issue those on a parity with their existing debt. I'll say that again. Understand what parity means? Parity is a pledge of the revenues of the system on an equal basis for the USDA loans and for any new revenue debt you want. Debt. Without that, you have which makes it much more harder to find investors a subordinate debt issue than one that's issued on parity. Does that make sense to you? The bottom line here is that I'm suggesting we're offering your best credit, and that's our general obligation credit rating for a number of reasons. One, it's going to save you, I don't know how much in terms of interest, because I've not ever seen a revenue debt subordinate to existing debt issued in the marketplace. So I don't even know if there are buyers out there for that kind of debt. So if you don't have buyers, you have to offer something at a very cheap price, which means you're offering at a very high interest rate. All right. The other issue is if we have two issues, Quarles and Brady, who's doing all the legal work, is going to charge us two sets of fees. And to start a new issue from zero, you start with a brand new fee schedule. So not only are we going to be paying for our $4 million, we're going to be paying again to issue $1,170,000. Does that make sense to you? So I'm trying to save you just in that aspect $25,000 to $35,000 in present value costs and fees. We combine the two, as Jamie, we're already paying for this debt and have been for the last 5 years with revenues of the system. Okay, revenues are there. You've got net revenues. It's not going to be a general obligation in terms of a levy. You're going to abate the levy every year, and we're going to be able to issue this debt in conjunction with your $4 million. The reason I wanted to be here tonight is to explain this to you. So next week, next month on the 7th, when we come to you with an issue of $5,170,000, you're saying, well, we only authorized $4 million. Yeah, you did. $4 million of new money, but we have to pay this debt off by October 21st. So timing is of the essence. So having gone through that exercise with the attorneys at Quarles and Brady and their prescription in terms of the authorizations we need to get, and then in terms of the timing it takes in order to get USDA to give us the opinion, to send back a letter, to allow us to issue parity debt, assuming they would, we're running up against a schedule that is not doable. So you're going to get an interest rate that you're going to appreciate, even though it's going to be revenue plus debt, and you're going to save yourself a bunch of, obviously, annual fees. The other thing it's going to do for you, and Jamie and I didn't talk about this, but as we were driving here, when you do revenue bonds, you're required in the revenue bond statutes to have net revenues in excess of 100% of your debt. In fact, in order to issue revenue bonds, you need to have at least a 125 coverage, which means that after operation and maintenance, your net revenues generated by that system produce at least 125% of your annual debt payments. Does that make sense? So that puts pressure on your utility rate, which we don't want to do. They're in good shape now. You've gotten to the point where they need to be. They're making, obviously, the payments that they need to make, and you're generating some retained earnings in that wastewater treatment enterprise operation. We'd like to keep it there. So this does another thing. In addition to that, to issue revenue bonds, you need to set aside at least 1 year's principal and interest in what is called a debt service reserve. You don't do that with general obligation debt. So if your debt service is $105,000 a year, we have to come up with another $105,000 that sits in an account as a just in case your cash flows are interrupted. So that bondholder is guaranteed those payments in a timely manner. Does
that make sense to you? It's all about cash flow. So when you have buyers looking at, geez, I could buy the city of Algoma's A2 highly rated general obligation debt, or I could buy the utility debt
They're putting the garbage out.
Garbage is
that's not on parity with their existing debt. Who's gonna pay the higher price? We're gonna get a higher price for our general obligation. So on an annual basis, my guess is it's
They can't
saving you
get back
$5,000
in.
to $7,000 a year in interest alone. And on the front end, this price is probably gonna save us $35,000 in actual fees that we're gonna avoid paying Coles and Brady.
And the one thing it does is it takes away our ability to borrow off the beach because we're using our.
Well, I knew you were gonna say that, John.
Yeah,
Last week you argued that you didn't wanna borrow any money. So we're gonna use $1 million
Why are
for
you
1
jumping on
year.
me on this? All I'm saying is, does it or does it not
For
use up
for
our
1 year, yes, it
ability?
does. Yes, it does. And is
Okay,
it-
that's all I wanted
Yes,
to
it
know.
does.
That's all I wanted
That's
to know
exactly
from
what
you,
it
Jeff.
does.
Thank you. That's all I wanted
Is
to
it
know.
worth it?
That's
What I'd
all I
like to
wanted
know from you, is it
Now, the
worth it?
question I have for the girls is, this is currently at the Bank of Luxembourg.
Correct.
Do they not want to keep it? Would we renew the loan there and not have to go into the market and basically get the same rate from them as we get in the
I'm
market?
gonna defer to Jeff.
No, they're not gonna give us a 20-year rate. We already asked, we already looked at it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We already looked, so if we would go back to Luxembourg with this, we wouldn't get the rate for 20 years that we can get for the 20 years at the bond market.
What's the difference?
Probably close to 3% difference.
3% difference. Okay, so it's worthwhile to use up some of our
That's
ability
why we're
to
here, John.
do this. Well, that's exactly why we're here, is to find the facts. And then make the best decision you can once we have all the facts. Okay.
So what are you looking for, Jamie?
I guess at this point it's
More of an
informational, because you're gonna have a resolution before you on October 7th at the next council meeting that says 5.17 million versus the 4 million, and we just needed to be clear with you on why that was taking place. And
So
we
no
were,
action tonight, strictly
No.
informational.
Correct.
Just so it's understood, Wayne, that when we come back to this, we're going out into the market with $5,170,000.
It makes sense to go that route because we are gonna save ourselves some money.
Yeah.
It's kind of a no-brainer.
I agree. But now we know.
Yeah. Otherwise, we don't know. If we don't ask questions, we don't know.
How does it get separated? Because some of it's.
it'll all be the same loan, but we'll have two separate debt schedules. So when our lump sum payment is however much, we're gonna know how much to
That'll come out of
allocate.
utilities.
I'll give them two schedules based on the rates. And once we know the rates on October 7th, Jamie will have two schedules, one showing exactly what the 4 million is, and one showing which goes out longer is the utility debt that goes up for 20 years. Also, John, the bank isn't even quoting us 20 years on the existing notes you just authorized today. It's a 5-year locked in with our ability
Which is what we got the first one.
to renegotiate in 5 years, so
And it may go up or down, you don't know.
we may, you're right.
Okay.
These will be locked in for 20 years.
If there's any other questions for staff,
What staff wants to leave?
nope, not at all.
Thank you, Jeff.
But Jeff does.
Oh,
All right, we'll see you on the 7th of October.
Thank
Tomorrow
you.
we have a rating call in the morning, 10 o'clock. I'll talk to you guys.
thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Safe drive home.
So no action for that. So the next would be our capital projects.
So I'm going to start and kind of talk to why this is back on here. A couple people said, why is this back on here? We already decided that, right? Yes, we did. Back in the beginning of the month, we made a decision to borrow $4 million. Now I'm going to ask the question I think Wayne Schmidt asked 2 weeks ago when we left the meeting is, How do we want to spend that $4 million? Okay. There's some things we don't need a decision 100% tonight, but we need guidance to know what direction we're going. Okay. And I'm going to talk about a couple different things that and why we need direction to where it's going. Okay.
Won't we get that on Thursday? Yes. I mean, isn't that what the budget?
That's the
meeting is all about?
that's the operating budget. That's the everyday. This is the
okay.
capital. Okay. That's what we're going to talk to of how this capital monies, whether it's the next 2 years, the next year, the next 5 years, how we spend this $4 million and what direction you would like city staff to start to look at. Okay. And I'm just going to use numbers for this conversation and then open the floor for anybody's recommendation. Okay. If we're going to take 100% of this money, 90%, 50% of this money and move it to build a fire station, okay, then we need to start to have that conversation of where, with, there's been things that have come up from numerous people of how come we're only just dealing with one person? How come we're not? Okay. So everybody is clear. This is a design, right? We've looked at a firm. We don't have $1 vested in Bayland right now, and they have given us a design. Okay. Everybody that sat on an ad hoc committee has agreed with that design and said, this is what we'd like to move forward at the time. Okay. If that stays consistent, then that project will go out to bid. And then we will look at bidding that out and receiving the bids to where those hard numbers come back to. All right. That all is going to take some time. And when you put that out to bid is very crucial in my eyes to receiving good bids back. Okay. Now I'm going to move to the other side, the street and utility work. That's a conversation that we do a lot of the last how many years joint work with the utilities, where we do our road work, they do their water work. We split some of the costs of curbing, blacktop, that we work with them and split. That's okay. There's a time frame that we need to start that design work to get out in front of that design to get that work ready to go out to bid. If that's what we're going to do and where we're going down the capital outlay. Okay. So with that being said, I'll open up the floor for any discussion that anybody has.
Well, if we have to go with the utilities department, what do they have planned, if anything, at this point?
I haven't even had that conversation with the utilities yet. Right now, the utilities have in their capital outlay that kind of follows ours to go down Sunset Avenue. Okay. As far as sitting down with Pete and saying, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're not going to do, how does that work with your end of things? That's a conversation we have not had yet because I don't know what this council wants to do.
Pete is waiting on this decision.
Correct.
I did have a really broad conversation with Pete, and they're not really tied to anything. So obviously the specifics will matter, but it doesn't sound like it.
Correct.
So we can decide to do very few projects and build a fire station. And the utilities will be all right with that. They would go along with us and put their project off the next year.
I can't speak for them, but I do believe so.
That would be a conversation we could definitely have. There's some things that they could do.
I think we need to have that conversation so that we understand what their needs are, and if we can tie into them, that's good. And if they can put off theirs to match ours so that we can put all the money into the one-to-one project, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
If I could add something, the last meeting with the $4 million really puts us in we still don't have a clue what the council wants to do. And so I think we're trying to get through that hurdle.
That's
more than anything. What's our direction?
Doesn't the committee, so like prior, it was always that, like for the roads like Sunset, have to do that in the committee.
Yep.
And then the committee would make the recommendation, this is what we decided to do with some of the capital project. I mean, I guess a person, almost a committee should start looking at it and saying, hey, yeah, let's do that, let's not do. And then compile it with everybody, and well, if we ain't got enough money, well, then we're gonna have to cut somewhere or do something.
I agree 100%. Lee, you're exactly correct. Is we would say, okay, we're gonna do, and we've already have our capital outlay. We're gonna do this tranche of Sunset, and then we're gonna move to this tranche of Sunset. And I think it's broke up 25, 26, and 27. But I'm not gonna sit at Public Works and have that conversation that we're talking to if we're gonna move all of this money over and build the fire station.
Correct, but at the same time, you gotta do it, let's say, for instance, if it was gonna go back where it originally was for the original plan.
Yep.
On Sunset.
Yep.
We still, let's say, for instance, we said if it would've went through Division Street, once it got started, then it would've went over to Sunset.
That is
So
correct.
that would've changed your whole
Yep.
capital project because of the cost and vice versa. You know,
Agreed.
It's not that we gotta do it in concrete, but it just, yeah, this is what we want, but now we know that if we wanna use $4 million towards the fire station, okay, everybody, we gotta sit down, well, of course, you put it there, you gotta have some money to do the road.
Correct. If we're gonna go to that spot and we're gonna build the
Right.
fire station on Sunset and Felt Street, okay, then we need to have that conversation of how do you build that road to get to Sunset
Right.
and Felt Street? That was our original plan. We're not gonna do this portion of Division. We're gonna jump up here and we're gonna knock from Rubbish Street out to Felt Street. If we're not gonna, if we're gonna move to the fire station, which I'm supportive of, then we need to say, where is that fire station gonna be?
Right.
And start to look at that infrastructure work around that fire station of how we're gonna develop that. But the same thing I'm gonna say to put everything on the fire station at the PPP and have the conversation. If we're not going to allocate funds to build the fire station, then we're gonna sit at the PPP and have the same conversation, spinning our wheels about where we're gonna spend this money.
The question I have is, could the fire station be built on Rubbish and Sunset right there, but across from the Napa Auto? Could it be built there?
I think we would have to look at that.
Or is there too much swampland or whatever?
I think that if I'm allowed to speak, I think one of the things that we had looked at there, Kevin, was that was the original site that we had looked at. But when we had the police department a part of it, it would have been the building, the structure would have been too big for that lot.
Sure.
But then we eliminated probably 70, 80 feet of the structure.
We would have to look at
So
it.
could we
it
look
would-
at that? Because to me,
it would
that'd
be
be a little
closer.
easier to get to if you're responding to fires. And you're not
If
racing
you
across.
decide to add on after, you
Right.
gotta add, you know, that's.
Right.
We're trying to cause between.
Isn't that where you're dumping the snow out?
Well, you could dump this-
We could flip flop those sites, Midge. That's a
Okay,
great question, but
That's
originally,
the original spot where they're
correct.
supposed to dump the
And you
snow.
could flip flop those if it would work out to what Kevin's asking, what Tom is referring to. You could just simply flip flop those.
Because you're dumping gravel and road debris across from the substation now. So
Correct.
if you dump snow.
Yeah. I think our elevation would have to come up there, just traveling that in spring. There's water that comes across the road there. And that would be a concern that I think definitely, by no means are we in the flood zone. But it would have to be looked at as an elevation standpoint, is, something to be concerned with at that location.
Wasn't that the snow plowing going there because of the DNR saying that, it was swampland and wasn't there testing done or something on that?
So
I remember
what we were doing right now, where our current snow dump is down at Olson Park, is we dump the water melts in spring, the snow melts in spring, I apologize, runs across the gravel directly into the Anape River. Okay. By bringing it out there, that is the kind of the headlands of the Silver Creek flowage starts out there. Here again, whether it was on Rubbish or down the road on Felt, it would still make that water would still make the way to the headlands of that Midge, which would be west, and then that water actually flows back kind of northeast. So same thing.
I just didn't know if there there was gonna be an issue and we have to start all over with the DNR and
No.
looking at that again and if we were having all those costs.
Correct.
added to it.
As far as like wetland mitigation and that work wouldn't have to be performed.
Yeah. When we borrow the 4 million, our capital outlays for 3 years, right?
Yep.
If you take the 4 million and you spend it all in the first year, you don't have anything left for the following 2 years.
That's correct.
My suggestion, and this is only mine, and I haven't talked to the chief about it, I would take 3 million of this for the fire station. I think then the obligation falls onto the city to either come up with grant money or for the fire department to get some funding from some individuals, which I think can be done. But that still gives me $1 million that I can use for infrastructure. I cannot see sticking the whole million into the fire. Plus, before it was 3.5.
Yep.
So we don't know. It might be less.
Still be 3.5.
It might still be 3.5. So you'd only have to come up with 500,000
And then
versus another $1 million.
to go with that, you could start your design process, get your bids, do your competitive bidding so you can get your multiple people to bid on the projects. Then you have firm numbers that you know, and well, you got to pick your lot first.
Right,
Obviously.
but that's going to have to be regardless if you go with 3 million or 4 million, you're going to have to find the location.
Correct.
But there's a lot of things in the wind right now with different locations that I know that it's not being publicized, but I know there's some stuff out there. So this thing can change tomorrow.
Yep.
The thing is, this will not be built in 25. It won't be finished probably until 26.
I don't
Depending
see,
on the contractors.
I agree.
That's just my personal
I don't
opinion.
think we would be moving in 2025.
I don't think
I-
it's starting to 26.
Depends on where the takeoff goes to get to that property.
And as far as the police department and we look at City Hall, there's other options out there for that too. And I think that needs to be explored and not talked about at this time. But my personal opinion is take the 3 million for the fire. That's a damn good start, $3 million. And then either grants or donations or whatever, come up with the other 500 or
Interest earnings gives a little
Whatever.
shove to
We're
it.
gonna have some
There's,
arbitrage, absolutely.
yeah, I mean, there's some things out there.
Okay, well, the 1 million, then, so you would shift the 1 million project then and try to get Sunset to Jefferson or whatever done first before you do almost Fremont to Sunset down that way. I mean, would you, because that would be the question then, where does that 1 million, how would we move that or what would that cover? That probably wouldn't even cover what we need from Jefferson to Felton or even Jefferson to Rubus, because like you said, there's nothing underneath that road, so you're starting from scratch.
I think again, I think if, and I think with Alderman Schmidt's conversation, I think we really, if that's the direction we have to go, I think we work really hard now to find out where this fire station is going to go before we say, this is where we're going to spend this next $1 million. We maybe pump the brakes with our engineering firm to say, we need to find out where this fire station is going to go. That has to get adopted by this council. There maybe is land purchase, there's maybe not. I think a couple different things that came up tonight, but then Midge, then we look at saying, okay, well, how much of that $1 million can we spend this year? Maybe none till next year. We'll, depending on where that site is going to be in the infrastructure we need to pay to get to that. Does that?
Now with that 4 million, because we wouldn't be starting right away, but we would be, getting at the ball, is the interest rate still higher again than, like Jeff was saying, the interest rate would be drawing would be higher than.
That is correct. We're bringing in more interest than what our loan payment is.
Then my last point is, and again, I'm all for the fire department, but the referendum failed twice. And is this a workaround? I mean, it is a city building that we need to take care of. I'm aware of that too, but what's the perception going to be out there? And I don't have an answer for that. I mean, I want the fire department to be built also, but I also, I don't know, we haven't, I don't know what the people would say because it's been, what, 2 years now since we've had the referendum or whatever. Well,
Years. Oh,
but
since we
since the
started
last
the first
referendum though, yeah, so,
But that's why we're here, Mitch. You have the ability to make that decision. And I guess if they disagree, they'll vote you out. But, you know, so far, no one up here has been
I don't think
challenged.
that was a.
No, I think so. I mean, honestly, if there's a way to speak to it, right? I mean, the decision to go to referendum was because we had to exceed our capacity. We no longer have to do that. We can make that decision here. It is our responsibility to do it. Either you do or you don't. But I don't think it's like, what will the city think? Well, depending on who it is, some will not want to spend the money ever, but that's not an option. So if no is the answer, then what's the option? And if the option is I don't want to pay taxes, then it's moot. And so regardless of those referendums, they're irrelevant at this point because we don't need to go to the people directly. We can make this decision. The right decision is to move it forward. Unfortunately, we'll probably achieve almost nothing in infrastructure, road infrastructure in the next 3 years. But if it means that we can finally get this thing going that we should have had going decades ago, then, you know, so be it.
Another option could be, we revisit the 4 million versus the 7 million and get it all done.
No, we're not going that route. We voted, and that went through, we voted as a council to borrow the 4 million. So every time a vote doesn't go in somebody's favor, we're gonna bring it back and redo it? No, government doesn't work that way. There were some of us that voted for the 7 million, it didn't go our way, okay, now we got 4, let's work with the 4 million. The other thing I wanna reiterate is, when you have your capital outlay, and you look at all this stuff in here, that is not a carte blanche thing for these departments to say, because it's in here, I can go ahead and spend it. If we're gonna need to move some stuff around, when we get to that point, then we move it around.
I'm gonna use, that's a perfect example to use, is the fire chief's had a fire engine in there for 7 years.
Right.
It gets pushed back another year, it gets pushed back another year, it gets pushed back another year. Not because nobody in this city council, nobody in the city wants to buy a fire engine, but the big picture of it is, do we go and spend how much extra to buy a fire engine when we're trying to figure out where our fire department's gonna be and what size it's gonna be and everything else? So, but that's exactly, and there's things like that always in the capital outlay that will get pushed off. Because it's in the capital outlay in 2024, it's a placeholder, or in 2025, I apologize, doesn't mean that monies are getting spent for that. So
or 26.
You can look at, we have approximately about $1 million in there in road improvement work, 3 different sections of Sunset. That doesn't necessarily mean that's getting done in 25, 26, and 27. We would all love it to, but that's not the way reality works. Correct.
So to summarize, there's an option on the floor for discussion on 3 million going for fire station, 1 million going for infrastructure to support wherever said fire station may be, the roads and everything. The next step would be determining where this fire station is going to go. Correct?
I think in summary, from what I'm hearing, is we would earmark $3 million to the fire station.
Right.
We would then start the investigation to say, this is where the fire station is going to go. And maybe this goes full circle, and I'm not saying it's going to. Maybe it goes full circle and it comes back and it's on Felt Street and Sunset, right? At that point, then, Amy, we would look to use that $1 million to build that infrastructure, the road and utility to get it there.
So the million is just sort of sitting in.
I think you have everything there, just a matter of fire department, $3 million.
Gotcha.
Start to do the background for sure. Where is this fire station going to go? Then we look at that $1 million to say, maybe it's going to go somewhere we don't have to spend any of that $1 million. Then we start the conversation of where we would spend that.
Felton Sunset, is that where Ice Age Trail is going to be?
Not any longer.
Not any longer?
That's up for, originally there was conversation to that. That's in some moving parts.
Is it back to Revis or? No, we don't have a motion yet. We're just in
Well,
discussion.
usually you discuss when we have a motion. So I'm asking if we have to point to the
We'd
motion.
like to make the motion.
I would like to make the motion that we earmark $2 million for the fire station.
I'll second.
Motion by Wayne, seconded by Lee.
Yep.
Roll call.
Discussion?
Roll
Yeah,
call.
that was-
Should we even have to vote? You just wanted to know.
I think,
I think a vote's
I
appropriate.
I think a vote would be
My
appropriate.
motion is there, but now it's open for discussion on the motion.
Correct. So back to my question on where the Ice Age Trail is going. Where is it
Well, if the
tentatively?
fire station is there, the
Right,
ice
that's-
station, all that,
The-
That's what
thing
I'm
will have to
wondering.
move.
The Ice Age Trail, Amy, was never gonna go where the proposed fire station was gonna go,
Okay,
or
that's
never
what-
was gonna go where the proposed snow dump was gonna go. It was actually gonna go to the south of where the fire station was.
So off of the city property.
Off of the city property on a private individual's property.
And then head over to Evergreen. correct?
That is correct. Go due west to Evergreen and then back to the south.
Neighbor property, I don't know who owns that. Tom can know, but-
Just trying to keep it straight.
I'll move the question.
There's a lot of questions.
Yeah, let's vote.
Good.
We have a motion and a second, so.
We'll take a roll call vote, please.
Kevin Schmidt,
Yes.
Wayne Schmidt,
Yes.
Swedberg,
Yes.
Boer,
Yes.
Ortlieb,
Yes.
Dashlet,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Meverden.
Yes.
Do you have any more moving reports on the capital that you want to discuss?
That is directive to which way to start. And now I know that we pumped the brakes with our engineering firm and we
Pick this up and
But you're gonna pick this up with.
get the ball rolling on this end of it. That is correct.
thank you. And public services laborer.
This is just an update. Everybody's been notified. The job has been posted. Aaron, I think you have it posted out till October the 14th.
14th, give or
Um,
take.
Just to get it out there that we're accepting applications for a public services labor position here in the city of Algoma. If anybody talks to anybody or anybody's interested, they can get a hold of Casey Gressel or myself with any questions anybody has. So.
Thank you. The Marina Golf Cart replacement, Casey?
Okay, so we've been having issues with our golf cart for the last 2 years now. So what the Public Works recommendation was that when we got some prices on some golf carts.
Case, hang on 1 second. If everybody can refresh their packet in their view, like that view agenda link that I send out, that's where we put the link. Does anybody want a copy of the quote? Matt has additional copies. Okay.
It didn't change from what you sent out there.
There was nothing in the PDF packet as it relates to this. And I guess this is just a really quick housekeeping item. If everybody could start bringing their iPads to the meetings or smartphones or whatever, because Jamie and I have a lot of documents that we're going to add to these packets. So when the packet goes out, we might be adding, what did you add? Another resolution or something, just as we get it, so we can get information out to the public sooner rather than later. But this was something that came from Public Works this morning. So we just added it to that packet. So if you look on your iPad with that little blue view agenda link, you can see the attachments in there. And it's, as soon as it's in there, it's on the website as well. But just something to make you guys aware of.
Casey, what do we use that golf cart for down there?
A lot of it's for running back and forth from the fish cleaning station to the garbage cans. We do shuttle people around once in a while, a little more cruises around. But mostly it's to haul equipment and cleaning supplies from bathroom to building. And
That's what I would have thought. And yet, this seems like a lot of money for a golf cart for carrying cleaning supplies and garbage from here to there.
It is.
4-person golf cart?
Well, it's 4-person golf cart because the back seat folds down.
Oh,
So what we looked at is I looked at a couple different options for what we talked about last month. And the thought was to look at a used golf cart. Well, when I talked to a few different golf cart dealers, to buy a used golf cart in lightly used condition for what a new cart is with our Sourcewell discount that we receive, like I'm talking like anything probably 2020 or newer, you'd be right in the same ballpark. And then with a used golf cart, you get a 90-day warranty, and a brand new cart, a gas one, it's a 3-year warranty on the engine, 1 year and everything else.
So this is gas?
The one we were looking at was a gas one, mainly because it gives us an opportunity to work on it better than an electric cart being lithium ion batteries and really we don't know what the cost of a lithium ion battery is at this point to replace it because they're not into it far enough in golf carts that I found. But we've gone through 2 sets of batteries in our current golf cart over the last 3 years. One of which sets were warranted. But so basically we're looking for is it was recommended this morning at Public Works to spend up to $12,500 now, and anticipating it being less than that. I'm actually we'll go look at the carts to make sure we have a height restraint in there as well to get in and out of the building that we have. So we talked about this morning with a UTV, and those typically are taller and they wouldn't fit in the door. Yeah, so
What size door you got in there? Not a size.
it's only like 74 inches of clearance.
Casey,
And
talk about the revenues.
yeah, so this wouldn't come out of capital outlay or anything of that matter. Me and Jamie went over it this morning again, and our revenues at the marina were like roughly 60,000 over expenses at this point of the year. It shouldn't change a whole lot for the rest of the year. So we'd end up paying for it out of our revenues at the marina, as well as whatever we get for a sale, whatever we sell the whole month for. The one that we do is a 1997, so it's been around for a while. And Jim's Golf Carts has been there 3 times now in the last year, and every time they can't find it. But
There's another dealer though besides Jim. It's anywhere retail.
Jim's has got two locations.
There's another one out there though, because there's also one that's on, trying to think of the street now, because I went and tried one out, and it was like $8,000 for the brand new.
So yeah, that's an Evolution. I looked at that as well. I think it was $8,295. Lithium ion batteries. That one is too tall. It's 84 inches tall.
Well, that has the big tires on it. It's raised. It's got the raised kit, the 6-inch raised.
And they all do.
Now I notice on here you've got he's got in here the heavy duty suspension. I'm wondering why he's got heavy duty suspension in a golf cart that's going to be just basically the haul.
Because you do haul garbage cans, we'll haul like those stop signs and stuff. Total height on this cart is like 72 inches, 73 inches at the max. But it was more just to make it more suitable for not so much people, but for equipment.
What's the difference in height with that other one that was 10,000? That other quote?
They're both the same height.
Same height.
Same height.
What was the other quote? What was that from?
Same price.
Same thing. The quote was put in there based off of what our top one would be. I'm actually planning on going there tomorrow to look at them side by side. They're not brand new carts, but it'll basically show what the difference is between this Tempo 2 and that's a Carry All 100.
Well, this one here, you get your 19% off the Sourcewell discount, where the other one you only get 14% off. So that's weird, the 5% difference.
Because initially the conversation started, I was looking for a lightly used golf cart, and it came up to being, he goes, well, what is it for? And he goes, well, if you're looking at a lightly used golf cart, a brand new one with the discount is probably going to be about the same price.
I don't agree with that, but
Casey, you got railings coming in. How much was that?
What's that?
We're still waiting on another quote for that yet, so we don't know.
Quotes we have right around 30.
So there's still enough money.
And on top of that, there's still 4 cruises that would have to come in paid for yet. And a lot of the line items in here wouldn't be used to what they're budgeted for on the expenditures.
Thank you.
Well, I like the idea and I like all the research that you've done and you've done a very good job. But I'd like to see it be a little bit less if you can. That's a lot of money.
I think part of it, I'm hoping to offset, I don't know what it would sell for, but I'm thinking our golf cart, hopefully at minimum of $1,500. It's got 2-year-old batteries in it, but then again, there are some mechanical electrical things that we can't find and Jim's couldn't find either, which is.
If it wasn't for the height wise, I justified, I think that we would have worked better.
Yeah.
They're so tall that sometimes you gotta lift the door and all that, it's really justifiable.
Keep it as reasonable as you can, please.
Well,
So
I know it comes out of your
we're all
budget,
going
but
with one
still.
quote then? That's what we're looking at? Just one quote?
We do Gator. Gator, you're looking at a lot more. And it's
Over 20.
What about the Gators? Do they still make those short?
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. There's no cage.
Yeah, no cage
Yeah.
Gators?
That was just one that we based, that was one close to what the recommendation was. I've got basically 3 other quotes here for electric versus gas, and then that Evolution. Part of it went down to, I actually Googled Yamaha golf carts, trying to get other brands, and Jim's came up and I asked him about Yamaha. They don't actually deal Yamaha, and the closest Yamaha dealer is Milwaukee. So I didn't want.
What is this brand?
These are Easy Go.
Easy Go?
Easy Go and a club cart. That's Easy Go.
One that we talked about a Yamaha dealer, but they're in.
Closest Yamaha dealer is Milwaukee. And this that Evolution, you look at, it's in the valley. They said their carts are 84 inches. Is shorter.
They got the lift kits on it.
And a lot more bells and whistles. That we
Yeah,
don't.
they got.
Prices
I mean, our intent is to move this forward to city council. Casey has a little bit of research to do, I think, but I guess if this is what we're gonna do, is we move this recommendation forward and we nail it down at the council.
Sounds good.
I think Casey's looking for a dollar amount.
Yeah.
What's the dollar amount I can go up to? And
Well,
obviously keep it under it.
we recommended.
He's not signing papers tomorrow though,
Right.
until after the council adopts it for sure.
10,000.
10,000. I agree.
So that's what you want is a motion. I
The
can spend this
recommendation.
much.
It's a recommendation to go to council.
Recommendation to spend this much, and then the council would still have to okay
Start
the
something.
purchase of the golf cart.
Yes.
And if we go over, we're gonna discuss it again anyways, but this, we would like you to do.
Sure.
So what would it be for you? For example,
I'll say 10,000.
you know, you got a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion for John for 10,000. Give me a second.
I'll second.
Second from me.
It's only a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's 10,000 limited. He gets 5,000 for his. We're gonna get something to look at.
I'm gonna lean on the $5,000 for ours as we go.
You're lucky.
500.
It's gonna depend on the explanation for this.
Yeah. Just like some of
Works
the-
great, runs great.
Yeah.
Saying only
Just like
come on
Bill.
certain days to run.
Brand new tires.
Thank you. Any agenda items for the next meeting? Next meeting date will be October 15th at 5 o'clock.
So moved, second.
Moved by Lee, second by Kevin. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. And then I will call to order the special common council meeting. Karen?
What?
You need time in-
Like 30 seconds. Okay.
Now,
Five.
for the special common council meeting, Tuesday, September 17th. Roll call, Aaron.
Johnson. Schmidt, Kevin Schmidt.
Here.
Dashlet.
Here.
Ortlieb.
Here.
Fuhr.
Here.
Meverden.
Here.
Wayne Schmidt.
Here.
Swedberg.
Meeting in compliance with open meetings law.
Yes, it is.
The motion for the approval of or any changes to the order of the agenda. So moved.
Second.
John, second by Midge. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. No old business, new business would be the two resolutions we discussed.
We do them together, or you want to?
Separately,
Do them
please.
separately, please.
Okay.
Make the motion, we approve resolution 1202-2024.
Motion by Wayne, second by John. Roll call.
Okay, motion by Wayne, second by John to approve resolution 1204-2024.
1202,
No.
1202 is rescinded.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay. Ortlieb.
Yes.
Kevin Schmidt.
Yes.
Swedberg.
Yes.
Fuhr.
Yes.
Dashlet.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Wayne Schmidt.
Yes.
Meverden.
Motion for resolution 1205, 2024.
So moved.
Motion by Lee,
Second.
second by Kevin. Roll call.
Kevin.
Yes.
Meverden.
Yes.
Swedberg.
Yes.
Wayne Schmidt.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Dashlet.
Agenda items for the next meeting. Meeting date is October 7th.
Can we talk about the?
So moved.
Okay, never mind.
Motion by Wayne, second by Jonathan.
Not bad.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Too late to approve.
Oh,
No,
I'm sorry.
it's, everybody gets homework.